Welcome to an episode of Podcast, the podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Today's the crying episode, Grossi, and today we welcome back the man who has graciously given us his time, experience, wherewithal, moxie, charisma all season long. The potential future number 2 in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Kurt Benkert.
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me once again. Moxie, that was a good one. I like that.
Right? I pulled that one out of there. I haven't used Moxie in a while.
Like
right?
For someone to say I have Moxie, I'm like, okay, he thinks highly of me. That was good.
This is the Hype the Ego show.
Yes, just build it up.
That's it. That's fine. Buddy, I appreciate you coming on as always. We got lots to talk about, lots to get through. Last time that we spoke, we're the bye week of the playoffs. We're feeling good. We're feeling excited. We're ready to go. And when we learned the 49ers are coming to town, there's rumors out there that you already started prepping for the 49ers, just in case, that's how things went because it's the Cowboys. And heading into this game, before you even step on the field, kind of what was the feeling around the building, with the 49ers coming into town, which have resulted in some close games?
Yeah, I mean, we knew that, matchup-wise, they're a tough team to play against. They like to control the clock, run the ball. Everything that they do offensively feeds off of, one another, play, pass, run, all of that. And then on defense, they're able to get pressure with just 4. And I think that's a tough matchup for anybody. When there's always one more person in the window and you got to hold the ball a little extra longer, it's always a tough matchup. And those guys have a good recipe going for themselves. But we did not think we were going to lose that game. We were already planning on next week, how we were going to prepare. We were not thinking we're going to lose that game. Mentally, we're all right, we got to beat them. We know our game plan. We felt like we were the better team.
Yeah.
We just kind of let it slip away, and it was a tough loss. But I think down the line, there's gonna be a lot of good that comes out of it, and people are going to learn different things. And I think we've won a lot of really close games this year, and winning sometimes puts a Band-Aid over problems on the team. Ooh. And I think that obviously the offseason is a great time to rehash all that stuff and tighten things up. Because we were the number 1 team in the league, but it wasn't like we were blowing anybody out.
Sure.
And I think we're going to be better for it, but I think the Band-Aid analogy is a good way to put it. And all that comes to light when you lose, especially in the playoffs. So I don't know. It's tough, but what do? You lick your wounds and move on and learn from it.
Yeah, it's exactly. You're just all right, let's see where the blood was coming through. Where are we able to identify it? And I mean, Kurt, again, it's not on you, but I put out 2 special teams videos, man. I did the work. I put the tape out. I put the film out.
You did. We've all been there. I put some film out before, it didn't necessarily land me a job. You just got to keep on going. I was without a job for a few months last offseason. You never know. There's a new league I saw on Twitter. You might be able to try out for them with your Peter calls. I don't exactly remember what the league's called, but I saw some memes about it. So some exposure for you.
Yeah. Just give me the platform, It's just asking for an opportunity, and Matt, every time I call him at 3 a.m., he's just like, how did you get this number? And I'm just like, Matt, these aren't the questions that you should be talking about right now. It's a little disappointing. That's all it is. Yeah, I think there's a bit of shock that's going on because the 49ers, as we talked, they're a good football team. They run the ball really well, and their offense usually is clicking. Deebo Samuel's really great. And of course, there's that defense. Yeah. But there was a feeling that I had throughout that day. And I have to say, talking to you during that day just amplified that feeling of oh, we're gonna kick their ass. It was that confidence, and I was like, oh man, am I gonna go to the NFC Championship game? I'm gonna move things around and all this stuff. I was getting hyped, and you're talking about the team being listen, we're gonna be hosting another one of these for 2 years in a row. And the first drive happens, which is 10 plays, 69 yards, and you guys fly down the field, and I'm like, oh man. That the offense has to be completely hyped up after that first drive.
Yeah, I mean, it really all came down to letting a team like that hang around for too long.
Yeah.
And when you let teams that are scrappy and not I don't think the 49ers are one of the best teams in the league. I don't. But they beat us, and they They played really well when they need to. But when you let a team that's really scrappy play the entire 4 quarters with you, and they're not playing from behind, they're a lot of times going to find a way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it, like the first drive was pretty much flawless. You started seeing uncharacteristic things of us as the game went on. We had a fumble that stopped the drive on the opposite 40, I think. That would have been another scoring drive. That would have put us up 14-0, most likely, because we were rolling. We had a few miscues. Then we had a third down play that kind of stalled a drive that should have been a completion, and it wasn't. Trying to be as like politically correct as I can, but there are a few plays like throughout the course of the game that were like, oh man, we're so close to just getting it rolling again, because once you get the first like first 2 first downs of the drive, then you can really put the pressure on them and get into like messing with their substitutions and like tendencies. Once you get around like field goal range, you can play into those things a little more. And we just never got past that point to be able to like expose them. And we just, we didn't play our best game, obviously. And it was more disappointing because of how well defense played too. I think
the defense was phenomenal.
Like we had been waiting for like that version of the defense where everyone played. Like we'd have good DB games, good D-line games, but like the whole defense showed up. And that was like, damn, we have a Super Bowl defense. We're ready to go. And we just kind of blundered the other opportunities. So there's a lot of good things that came out of it, and the potential's there, but like nobody gets paid off potential. Like that's
correct.
Is what it is.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like before the game, I'm literally sitting here doing the AFC game, and I'm like refreshing constantly for the injury report, because I was like, okay, we got Jair back, like Z is coming back, Merciless is coming back, Cobb is coming back. And then I saw Bach was out, and I was like, crap. Because if there was one guy, I'd be like, against this team and this defense, like you'd want him there. And you mentioned just like not able to get it going. Matt has taken some responsibility for that of just not being able to like kickstart. Aaron's taken some responsibility for that of just missing throws and stuff like that. Do you think it was more of what the defense was able to do of the 49ers, or is it kind of just like you were in a rut and just were unable to get out of it?
I think we were in a rut, and the defense, like they did some good things, but we had opportunities out there that we just like, it was a blend. Like if we had hit our normal routine plays that we normally do, it wouldn't have looked like that. And they still would have had some good plays, but we would have overcame them. I just think we were in a rut, and we just we started pressing a little bit, and it just, that stuff happens, and it's just tough when that happens in that game. We're so used to winning at home. We didn't lose a game until the playoffs at home this year. We played a bunch of really close games where we had to come behind and win or whatever. Like not everything went in our favor, and we just found ways to win. And that game felt like we were going to find a way. And then once the special team stuff happened, it was like, damn, we found a way to lose. Versus like, if we don't do anything, then we probably win the game. Like we'd win the game 10-3 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too. You look at, like, the blocked field goal, that goes in there, too. Obviously, there's the blocked punt, which is disastrous. And even in special teams like Deebo Samuel, I think he ripped back a 45-yard return.
And it's like the second half.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, we're letting them stay around. It is a one-possession game, and that's dangerous, And I think it was shock and awe. I mean, I think just from, like, the fan base, but that game ends the way that it does, in which even we get the ball back and I'm confident. I'm like, okay, we haven't been anything going, but like this will be the drive that we do. And it doesn't come to fruition. Rodgers walked off the field pretty quickly. I think, obviously people were shocked. What was the locker room like, post that game? Was it just like dead quiet?
It was just defeated, man. Like, just like, how did we let this happen? That's like the best way I can put it. Just really quiet, really like, can't believe we just let that shit happen. And I mean, it was tough. Not fun.
Because again, like for this team, you're talking about the potentials, and I think there's definitely a lot of potential to look into. Okay, where can we get better? It's frustrating how well the defense did play. I mean, they didn't score a single touchdown, right? Like on offense, how well the defense played. And the issue is all the surrounding circumstances that we're heading into this offseason. And we're already starting to see it, right? Like, so Hackett already getting a head coaching job, which great for him. He's a great coach. But you're starting to see like Luke Getsy's getting calls, right? Like Adam's getting calls. Like there's all these guys that are starting to get phone calls about, potentially going. And then there's also like the personnel and the players that are going to be on the field. There's going to be potentially some swaps there. Is there like any thoughts to, first of all, Nathaniel Hackett, like moving on, like anything that you could speak to his experience with him. And then two, was like there that sense of like, this is the last time that a lot of these people or potentially some of these people are going to be in this locker room with us.
Yes. So first thing with Hackett, he's an awesome coach. He does a good job of like keeping things fresh and keeping people engaged in like such a monotonous job. Because like, let's face it, like Sundays are fun as hell, but throughout the week it is so monotonous. It's the same thing.
Sure.
It's rinse, wash, repeat, like the whole nine. But he does such a good job of keeping you engaged. Like he's with it with like pop culture stuff, and like he walks in the room and you feel his presence, and he's like you don't know what each day is going to hold, which is fun.
Sure.
Like for this job. He's a genius, man. Like he does such a good job of exploiting what teams do in really creative ways. Like the ways that we found to get like Tay the ball this year, like a lot of it is a good collaboration of like what Hackett brings with some of the other guys. And it's like, it's not the traditional football, like a lot of it. So he does a good job of being like one step ahead and bringing some ingenuity to it. So he's going to do a good job in Denver, and the guys there are going to really love him. So,
yeah. I mean, I think that's been the major thing that stuck out about him, because when he was hired, obviously he had a stint in Jacksonville, and like that didn't end well. And so people were like, oh, I don't know about this. And then everything that I've seen is just the players love the guy. Like they absolutely love him. So like he's a player's coach. I think he's going to do very well in Denver. Of course, this stokes more rumors about other people going to Denver, but
that's how it is, man. But he's going to do such a good job. And like, I think a lot of times when you hear people say like, oh, he's such a good dude or such a good like guy or whatever, it sometimes will diminish the fact of like how good of a coach they are. But like, dude's a really good coach. Like he could spit off things like a typewriter to you of like all the history of how this thing developed and like how this drop works and like how the timing of a 7-step on this play is different than a timing of a 7-step on that. Like he knows all of the details down to the core of what the play is. And that's part of his strength, and he knows when to use that stuff and when not to. He does a good job of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, like, it is a loss for the Packers because he's a great coach, and I'm happy for him, right? Like, go and get those opportunities because that's what it's supposed to be, right? Like, you have these opportunities in coordinator positions or assistant coaches or whatever, and they get opportunities elsewhere. And I think, again, like to the second part of the question about just how this year felt different because it was the last dance. I mean, you and I started talking beginning of the season. It's like, nope, like everyone's focused on getting a ring. Like, that's it. Because we know how tight those windows can be. And so when you're sitting in the locker room, after that game, you have guys like Z posting "Thank you, Green Bay" on Instagram. Cobb is coming out with like heartfelt messages because there's just like so much unknown going into the season with the cap space, with everything. So like, what were your thoughts on that of being like, hey, like I might not be able to play with some of these guys ever again?
That's sadly that is every year in the league, and it gets amplified more when you get on such a good run like this. It's like, how will we be able to replace anybody, or like who's going to be able to stick around? But like good teams, good organizations find the next guy. And that's just like the nature of the business. And I think the most encouraging part for this year for me was seeing guys like when Jair got hurt and when Z got hurt, and obviously Bach didn't play, and then Elgie got hurt, and Billy, like all these guys that, if you look at our roster in preseason of who are going to be our guys that we need to lean on to make it to the playoffs. Not even just to like get a first round bye, to make it to the playoffs. These are guys that on paper we need without a doubt. And then you go through the season and you're like, damn, he's gone. But then you got a guy like Yash who steps up at left tackle the first time that we play Joey Bosa. Then you got a guy like Rasul who we get off a P squad and he goes and wins a game, a thriller on Thursday night that should be Jair's spot, but he's not there. Like you just go through the season and it just gives other guys an opportunity to step up. And I think if you put it on to perspective, nobody is bigger than the team, but damn, like we did enjoy having those guys back. Like you saw how well our defense played this last playoff game. We had pretty much everybody on the field, and that's like what you aim for it to look like. But every year is an injury, a bunch of them, no matter what team you are, and you find ways to overcome. And I think the really good teams are the ones that you can see overcome in those situations, and that allows you to be more consistent long-term. You look at the 49ers a few years ago, they had a few like really bad years. Was it 2 years in a row? Well, they had a bunch of injuries up front that they couldn't overcome. We had a bunch of injuries up front and we overcame it and still were first seed. Like, we didn't go as far as we wanted to, but I think that that's a testament to like the longevity of what we can have here. And that's something that Packers fans can be encouraged by.
Yeah, I mean, because again, right now the sky is falling for lots of Packers fans. Like,
Yeah.
it's coming down. Everyone's arguing about who the next QB is going to be, where if things are going to come by. But I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of the fact that you were able to be as successful as you were. Where if you told me at the beginning of the season, holy crap, all these guys are out and you're going to even make the playoffs, like you said, like that's a home run, right? And here, I think that's part of the frustration too, because listen, there's no like fate, destiny would have you in football, but it's the idea of, man, these guys are like come back at the right time, right? Like it feels like we're gonna be the healthiest we've been all year in the playoffs.
Yep.
And like that feeling of like, holy crap, well, if we've already been this good and winning close games and doing all this, yeah, like we could rock this. But I think to your point also about blowing teams out, we saw teams blow other teams out and they're not there either, So I think it's just so crazy. Just it comes down to 3 games in the playoffs or 2 if you're the 1 seed.
Yep.
And if you keep them around, they'll find a way to beat you because these are the best of the best.
Yeah, I think another thing, like if you look at, I saw something that was pretty interesting on Twitter. It was talking about like the explosiveness of our offense and like how maybe not necessarily Lambeau plays to our strength.
Yes.
And I was like, damn, like I mean, in our mind, it's like, yeah, like we're used to the cold. The cold's a non-factor for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little harder to make some of the throws in the cold. Just physically, it's
sure
your hands frozen. Like you can't do what you can in the cold, as you can in Florida. Like it is what it is, or in a dome.
Yeah.
But we looked at it. I mean, you do look at Lambeau as a big advantage, and it's loud and it's tough. But like, if you play a team like the 49ers, who all they do is run the ball, all they do is throw the ball 5 yards in front of them.
Yeah.
They don't really take shots. Like and that's another thing that people don't take into consideration. When you look at a guy like Jimmy G, and 48% of his throws are within the numbers, leading the league by like 10+%. Those throws in between the numbers are only 20, 25-yard throws max because of like the distance that the ball travels.
Sure.
If he needs to throw the ball outside more, those to get 10 yards, you have to throw the ball 30+ yards. So there are some things that like playing in Lambeau maybe fit the 49ers a little better, to where if we had played them in a dome or whatever, maybe we would have the edge. It's just, there's a lot of things that I think go into it that, it's just some stuff to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because I've kind of said that, in which if you're like in a dome, like we've seen how well like Aaron Rodgers plays in a dome, like we've seen because again, I think it's just like it elevates that speed, right?
Yes.
If you're a run heavy team, well, you can play in any condition because you can just hand off the rock and you're rocking and rolling, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you can do. And that's the 49ers are. Like they are able to get like the 5-yard, 10-yard, like dump offs to Deebo Samuel, who could rip one off, or George Kittle over the middle. Like they could do all that.
Yeah.
I mean, the sad thing is like we go through all of this and we're like, man, we want an NFC Championship game at home. Like we want it. And like for 2 years now, like it was running through Lambeau, and there's talks about the stadium itself and just being like, yeah, maybe it's not the advantage that you think it is in terms of the teams that are coming in. If you're bringing in, a dome team who is like like the Rams, for example, right?
And look at it,
the Rams in Lambeau.
And that's the thing. This game, so many people just think of records and like they don't look at matchups enough. The 49ers, I think, I told my wife this before the game. I said, if we're going to lose in the playoffs, it's going to be to the 49ers because it's a mismatch. If we beat them, we're going to win the Super Bowl. And I told her that. And that's something I like want to say on Twitter, like just at any time, you know what I mean? But I was talking to her about that. I'm like, listen, like if there's any team that we don't match up well against, it's them. And this is why. However, if we get past them, we match up really good against the rest of the team. So it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a dogfight like it is when anybody plays the 49ers. So that's just, I don't know. There's stuff to that in football that like, just because we're the 1 seed doesn't mean that we can just roll through anybody, and that we should. Like everybody's good, and everybody has really good coaches, and everybody game plans, and there's a few plays in the game that change the course of everything, and your whole season of work can come down to 1 or 2 bad plays. And it's just that's why we love football, because of the finality of it. There's no 7-game series. Like this is, you show up on Sunday or Saturday, wherever the hell day you play, and you need your best. And I think that's why there's so many views in the sport. Like people love this because of that.
Because there's no tomorrow. It's literally like, oh, I have a bad game, game 1. All right, I come back for game 2, game 3. No, like that's it. You don't show up for 4 quarters. you're done.
I packed my shit up in my locker and took it into my car after the game.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's wild, but that's why you feel so much emotion though when
Correct.
you're on the field and you're like, I mean, after the first drive, dude, I was so hyped and it was like, we're gonna do this. It just, yeah, it's wild.
It was in
it's
front
fun.
of us. I got to say, the Rams coming in, I would be like, yeah.
I was hoping that Dallas won so that we would play Dallas. I think we would. I don't know if we would have played
We'd have
Dallas.
played the Rams.
Yeah. So I wanted to play the Rams at home, and I mean, if there's any team that doesn't match up well against, or that we don't match up well, it was the 49ers. It just,
Yep.
It was
Agreed.
what it was. I mean, look at our first game.
Yep.
I mean, it came 2 games, literally came down to the last second.
Correct.
For both teams. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Now there is some good news that comes out of it. Mr. Kurt Benkert getting signed to a futures contract with the Green Bay mother-loving Packers.
Big time.
So, Kurt, for the people who don't know what a futures contract is, and I explained it a lot to people in the DMs, explain what that means, because some people think that now you are quarterback number 2. Some people go, I don't know what futures mean. It's all over the place.
Future is just like a disclaimer that the contract legally doesn't start until the new league calendar starts, the league calendar year. So basically, I signed a 1-year deal. But there were no there's no guarantees or bonuses for guys in my position that are trying to just make the roster. Mm-hmm. So it's just semantics of how it's said, but it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah. Which, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Awesome. I appreciate it.
In terms of what your future looks like with the team, obviously there are a lot of decisions to be made. And I think some Packers fans were maybe caught off guard because you had we know what the cap is looking like. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. We're already over the cap. There's going to be tough decisions that are going to have to be made, according to coach. And the floor is saying, we want guys like Aaron back. We want to keep these pieces. We want Javonte back, and there's ways that we can move money around. Now the conversation is becoming hey, is it, are we going to move on from Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers didn't want to play football anymore. And it's talking about Jordan Love, if he's going to be the next guy, what have you. For you, are you kind of just sitting there going, all right, well, a lot is out of my control. I'm just going to put my hands up and be like, let's see where we are in August.
Yeah, that's the only way that I can live. Because if not, I'm up all night thinking of different scenarios and shit. And
yeah,
that doesn't do anybody any justice. So for me, I just keep preparing like I have been, keep studying the playbook, keep watching film, and all the stuff that I do to prepare. I have some goals this offseason of different things I want to improve on that I'm just going to hone in on and stuff. But for me, at the end of the day, nothing matters if I play like shit. So if I play well, things will work out how they should. I'll have an opportunity here. Maybe it's somewhere else. You never know how this stuff works. But at the end of the day, all that I can do is control how I play. And I just have to play well and be prepared. So that's kind of how I approach it. And it's really helped me just kind of stay out of my own head in that regard, because you can think of all the different scenarios. And then at the end of the day, all of that stuff is in other people's hands. So the more I can keep in-house and control, I try to do that.
Yeah. You're 100% correct, right? Because it'd be all right, well, we can down in the rabbit hole here and be all right, well, we'll number on the number 2 guy, but who's going to be number 1? And what does that mean about me? I mean, I would assume, that as we've talked about, that's been the goal, right? To get on the roster, be a number 2 somewhere. And I mean, with the Packers, I would think that'd be a very ideal situation.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the goal, man. Especially a place like this that is so special and has such a great history, and the people here, and from fans to coaches, just the overall football life experience here is amazing. And if I'm able to, move up with in any regard that what it is, I just want to be on the 53, and I want to be just a little bit closer to playing than I have been. And that's the goal, man. You don't play your whole career to just not do anything. So for me, I want to do the best I can. I'm going to be ready for preseason, go ball out. And I'm really excited this year because this past year I came in late to OTAs. I was playing catch up on the offense, and the offense, it's everybody runs the same stuff, but when it's a different word for everything, that takes a long time to sink in. No matter how much you have you ever read a book and had to reread the same page 5 times and even just figure it out? Yeah. That's basically what learning a new playbook is. There's no fast track to do it. And sometimes the more you look at the shit, it's just becomes mush anyway. So
this is hieroglyphics.
Yeah. So instead of OTAs last year, I'm staying up late trying to learn formations, I'm actually like able to dive into more film and see like leverages that people are playing and go to the next step of like being one step ahead of seeing how personnel reacts to plays and play calls.
Yeah.
Because every player plays man a little different. Every player plays zone a little different. There's stuff that you can take your game to the next level. And that's why people say the biggest jump for quarterbacks is year 2 to year 3, because you're not studying your side of the ball anymore. You know that certain formations influence routes a certain way. You don't have to think twice. You don't have to think in your head, what is fast? It's F, Z. Like, you don't have to think any of that stuff for formations. So then you can just spit it out. And then you're already, as you're walking the line of scrimmage, thinking of what's the defense doing versus what do my guys have?
Exactly.
And that just takes time.
Yeah, I mean, it's one less thing for you to do, right? Because you're getting in that rhythm and being like, okay, it's now instinct, and now I can actually focus on, all right, how do I elevate even further? And being like, now we're looking at the defense. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm excited for you to get that opportunity because you were brought in late, and there was already like, who knows if he's even going to make the practice squad? Like, the 53, are they going to keep 3 quarterbacks? They're not supposed to keep 3 quarterbacks. You were told, right? The idea was like, we're not going to keep 3 quarterbacks, and now it's gonna be like, hey, regardless of what the QB situation is, you'll have an actual shot to compete for QB2.
Totally. And I think also like you're seeing some older guys out of the league starting to retire. Some middle of the range guys are fizzling out too. So there are still guys like me that like, yeah, I haven't played, but on the bright side, I haven't played. So people don't know. And the more opportunities I get in preseason and what have you to go and show that, wait, this kid can sling it. Wait, he can extend plays and he can show command of the offense. And maybe there's something there. The more people that get to see that, the longer you get a chance in the league. But as soon as you show that you can't, you're out. So that I know that. And that's kind of part of the motivation. Just make sure I'm on top of everything.
Exactly. You literally are like the most prepared you possibly could be. So when they have the tape on it, they can be like, oh no, this is something we want to, potentially endeavor in and invest in. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think, Kurt, the most exciting thing is not just for you, but obviously like, if Devontae leaves, not even Devontae, I mean, MVS, EQ, they're all free agents unless the Packers wind up signing them back up. Lazard's a restricted free agent. The Packers, they need a wide receiver. And I think that, this is a perfect time. You get the Benkert Grossi connection. It obviously works over online, talking on a TV show. So why wouldn't it work on the field? I mean, it just seems like
I do think that you could go in and get some of the jobs done. I can't say you can do it all, but I do think that like you wouldn't. We could get you. We could get you to the point where like, all right, this guy, maybe he shouldn't be on the field, but it's not the worst. I think we could get there.
Listen, I could be a role player, whatever you need me to do. If that role is bringing water and Gatorade to players, I mean, I'll find it a little bit insulting, but like I'll be cool with it. Like, I'm not gonna like complain too much.
I see you as a big catch across the middle kind of guy.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Listen, I'll run some deep posts. You just make sure that ball gets there.
How long will it take you to get down there?
It depends. Do I have a car or like what are we rocking with? Listen, you tell me to get in shape, Kurt. I will dedicate. I'll start posting TikTok workout videos. We'll get in shape. Sean T will help me with some insanity upstairs. Like we'll rock and roll with this thing.
That's amazing.
We'll vibe. It's fine. All right. So basically what you're telling me is like I got like an 85% chance of making the roster. All right, cool. So, but Kurt, I appreciate you taking the time. I look forward to this offseason. Not only you just getting better, but we're definitely gonna make some content together. We are gonna make some content together. I'll fly out to Green Bay and we'll do some things.
It'll be amazing. Big meme guys.
Oh yeah, all the memes. All the memes.
I appreciate it, man.
Can you tell the people kind of like not only where to find you, but what they can look forward to from Kurt Benkert in the offseason?
Yeah, so pretty active on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, TikTok. But soon I'm going to be flying to LA to play in the Fortnite Streamer Bowl with the NFLPA. So it's going to be, I want to say maybe 30 teams, maybe 32. So I think they had 32 last year. I don't know, 30 some people, guys like Juju and Christian McCaffrey, a bunch of those like big name guys are going to be playing in it. And basically we team up. It's me and like a big time Fortnite player, streamer, YouTuber, Twitch streamer. And then one other person from the Fortnite community that's like an unknown, really good player that all competed in an open bracket. So all of us will be competing together to try to get the most points in like 5 games or whatever. And there's $1 million for charity at stake. So it gets divvied up pretty heavily, top to top bottom.
Yeah.
top down. So it's gonna be cool. I played in this 2 years in a row. In my first year, we came in third place. I think I made like, I want to say 60,000 for my charity, which was so cool. And then last year we did a little worse, made like 25,000. But this year's going to be a good one. So we're looking forward to it.
We're feeling it. We're rocking it. We're going to crush it. I know it. Kurt, where can people find everything that you do? I know you're streaming on the Twitch all the time.
Yeah.
And is Aaron Rodgers going to 1v1 you on Rust?
I don't think Aaron wants to smoke. I don't think he wants to smoke. I mean, I try to get him set up and stuff, but sometimes people just, don't follow through.
Well, it's a little disappointing, but
yeah. Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Great guy, though. Kurt, appreciate you, buddy, as always. Looking forward to making some kick-ass content with you.
Doubt.
Folks, thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.